So I had the opportunity in June to go to Nicaragua with the school I work at. I was the only male, 16 teenage girls and 2 female chaperones. That was fun. It was kind of funny because the girls asked me, so what does it feel like to be the only guy? I said, well, I grew up in a house with nothing but women. I've lived in a house with nothing but women, so it's really not that big of a transition for me, other than the quantity of women. But the community that we serve there, through International Samaritan, they were the hosting organization, do marvelous works, and their whole focus is on the people groups that work at trash dumps. And I don't know if you paid attention to all the slides or not, but there's a picture in there of the trash dump, the La Jolla trash dump. And that was the first thing we got to do, was go to the dump. And I don't know how many of you ever drive past dads out here, but it doesn't smell anything like this did. Because unfortunately, as we drove in, there was a dead horse carcass, and it didn't sit too well with some of the girls. And it can wake you up. You can appreciate being able to go into your office and sit, or sit in your car and work, or wherever you work, or wherever you go to school. But these people have such joy, and that's what God showed me, was the simple things. They were appreciative of us taking time to be with them at their work site. Now, as I said, it wasn't the most pleasant smelling place, but it grows on you, literally. But these people were really appreciative of us coming and spending time with them, and just showing our faces and wanting to learn about them. So we learned about their families. And anyways, later in the week, we had a work site what we did was we helped build a house for a family that work at the trash dump. The mom works at the trash dump, and I believe the niece also does. And we got the opportunity to help the construction workers do some of the work on the house. And when we got there, all it was just basically 4 little walls. And we had the privilege, if that's what you want to call it, I guess, to hand mix concrete. I think we did a total of 45 batches. That's 3 cubic yards per batch. So we covered a lot of concrete. But in the meantime, we also spent time with the kids that were there. There was a teenage daughter, Giselle was her name, and then the young one, the 7-year-old, who's a diva. They spent time with them, and the amount of joy that you could see on these kids' face just because they're willing to spend time with them. So time, I guess, is the key word that I got from this trip. The other side of that is we also, in the afternoon, we would flip back and forth because we had 2 groups. We went to a boys' home. And these boys are in situations of, I don't want to say abuse, but they live in a lot of homes where there's a lot of violence, and a lot of alcoholism is a big thing. And what they do, what this other, I wish I could remember the name of the organization, but they pull them out of the home and they put them in this boys' home where they get treated with love, they get tutored, they get to play a lot, but they also are responsible for chores. Is there any mango lovers out here? So this whole compound, just as we have pine trees, they have mango trees. So you either smell like a garbage dump or you smell like a mango. But these boys, some of them were a little hesitant, and one was, in particular, was there from last year. He actually spoke for the first time to our group and played along with us, played soccer, or football as they call it. So there was a transition. You could see that he was changing, that this process was changing him. So anyway, this process is these boys are taken out of their home during the week, Monday through Friday, and then they go home over the weekend. So there's not that total separation from their family, but there's enough where the parents get counseling at home and the kids get the counseling and the love at this place. And I think it's a wonderful thing, and I really hope America will grab onto that and take hold of it, because I know there's that issue here too. So we got to play with the boys. But I would say the biggest thing outside of what God did in me was one day as I was praying before our day started, he told me to put my camera away and just observe. And that was hard for me, because that's what I like to do outside of everything else. And you see a lot, and these girls really grew, and they really bonded with these young boys and the families there. And one of the things that really stood out to me in particular was, as we said our goodbyes the last day to the family, the mom was really appreciative, and she broke down. And she was a really, I don't want to say a hard woman, but she wasn't someone that would cry normally. But she broke down in appreciation for what we were doing. We also had the privilege of buying a couple families some bikes, and her daughter received one of them. She had us to walk to school 1 hour each way, and so that bike will help her immensely. But again, I thank you for your prayers, and I thank you for all that you do for God's kingdom.